And good morning, and welcome to the Driving to podcast, the podcast where we're driving to something, driving to success, driving to happiness, driving to fulfillment, driving to whatever you need to drive to this morning, and we talk about it as we're driving to somewhere in my car. So welcome today. My name is Matt Muddle. I'm the host of the Driving to podcast, and I'm actually on vacation this week. Vacation, all you ever wanted. Remember that Go-Go's song, Vacation, got to get away. Yeah, we sing, or you can call it singing, on the Driving to podcast. I'm driving to American Idol. No, probably not, but I am on vacation. That's why I'm dressed this way, but I am driving to a meeting today. As even while I'm on vacation, there's still things to do and people to see and places to go. So we are driving to today. It's funny, as I was singing just now, as I walked into my daughter's room this morning, on her radio, it was playing Cameo, Word Up. Can you remember that song? Man, I walked in, I'm like, wow, that is fantastic. Now I just got to introduce her to the Daz Band and Let It Whip and all those fantastic 80s, early 80s songs. I love 80s pop music, and I probably just told on myself for that, but anybody that knows me knows that. And it's funny, also, yesterday I was at a friend's house, and in the background music, Chuck Mangione's Feel So Good came on. And then Pina Colada song came on. I'm like, what is happening? What decade am I in? So I've listened to 70s music and 80s music in the last couple of days, and now all I need to do is put on some Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, and I'll have the 90s covered and move on into the 2000s. So it's great. But, you know, one thing about that is immersing yourselves in other cultures, even though it's just musical culture and it's 80s music culture, which some people would say is not culture at all. But by learning stuff like that, maybe it will help you at some time in the future. And maybe it's helped you sometime in the past, even if it's just connecting with some people. You know, finding something to connect with people is one of the key things in life and in leadership. You know, my coworkers tease me a ton about this seemingly useless knowledge that I have. And they say, well, how do you know that? How do you know anything about that? And I feel like it's sort of my responsibility, as cheesy as it sounds, to know what the pop culture is of the day, because we have associates in our stores that are anywhere from 14, 15 years old on up to 80s. And I need to be able to connect with them somehow, some way, not in a nerdy way, not in a creepy way, but just something that makes them stop and say, hey, that guy knows something I know about. And then we can have some sort of conversation, and then the next time I'm in the store, we have a connection. Yeah, I think it's so very important. And you know, one thing we talk about in our business a lot is leaders as teachers. You know, leaders as teachers, but I think it's even more important to have leaders as learners. We need to learn stuff, and it's not just stuff about 80s music culture, but it's reading. As a leader, I think you owe it to yourself and owe it to whatever team you're leading, be it not even in the workplace, but in your family. You need to read, and you need to know some things about what's going on in the world, and you need to know, you know, reading helps you with empathy. It helps you with straight knowledge. You know, too many of our managers in our stores, they know business in a sense. They know how to read a P&L statement. They know how to look at labor numbers and sales figures and all that kind of stuff. But the reason they're not progressing in their career is they don't have the connection and the relationships with the people. And I think you get that, or you develop that skill through reading and learning about cultures. I talked about traveling the other day. You learn a lot that way, but leaders as learners. And you don't have to read management books. You don't have to read leadership books all the time, although I think they're very helpful. Obviously, I'm doing a leadership podcast, or trying to anyway. But you can, you know, science books, you read how things work, and that can help make your mind work better at work. You can read, you know, religious literature that helps you stay grounded maybe, or gives you some good life lessons. Poetry, you can get a lot of meaning out of poetry, and it helps you, I think, with empathy and as you're dealing with people. There's just so many different sources that you can go to that's going to help you as a leader. But the main thing is that you remember, I have to learn. I have to continue to learn. Even when you get to that spot in your career where you think, I've made it, well, you're not going to stay there if you don't continue to learn. So leaders as learners is really what I want to emphasize today. Read. I saw a stat the other day, have no idea how to verify it or even if it's accurate, but it said the best CEOs, how they determine who the best CEOs are, I have no idea. But the best CEOs read 60 books a year. That's, over a book a week. Seems pretty aggressive. But hey, if you can do it, you can do it. But their whole point was, again, that reading helps them be better leaders. And I absolutely agree with that. So, as you're driving today, think about, what have you read lately? How can you apply it to your work environment or your life environment? How can you just apply it to your world? And then continue to read. Subscribe to magazines. Subscribe to audible.com. I know Audible's not reading, but it is still getting the literature into your head. I have an Audible account and I listen to a lot as I'm driving. And of course, Amazon has any book you ever want to get. But just read. Subscribe to newspapers. Just read. And it's going to do you a world of good. So wherever you're driving to today, drive safe. I'm going to turn on my 80s music now, and we'll talk to you next time. You can dance if you want to. You can leave your friends behind.